David here with Figboot on Pens. Today I have for you an accessory, one that I've been getting a lot of use out of and wanted to share it with you. It's from Allegory and it's called the Padfolio. What I'm going to do today is go over the parts and features of the Padfolio, talk about what I care for and what I don't care for about this interesting stationery accessory. Allegory's been around since 2012 and is based out of Chicago, Illinois. It's run by the husband and wife team, Chad and Jess Shoemaker. The story goes that they were both working for a startup company which went out of business, and they were both looking for creative ways to get by while they were both job hunting. Chad's father had taken up woodworking and made a few pens, and so that gave Chad an idea. He found a few pieces of wood with some interesting stories and crafted some pens. Eventually, they branched out into creating leather goods as well. I've previously reviewed one of their pen wraps that I care for a great deal. They've had quite a few successful Kickstarter campaigns for various products, so what began as a side project has turned into a full-time business for them. Previously, I had reviewed that pen wrap, which I care for and still use on a regular basis. I had been tempted to pick up one of their Padfolios for a while and did so just about a year ago. This was a product that I didn't want to just purchase and then review right away. I wanted to really give it some time to use it. And it's something that I've grown quite fond of, and I use this every day at work. And this is what it looks like. I carry this around with me all day. So for almost a year, this has been either in my hand or on my desk or at an arm's length away. So needless to say, I have thoroughly user tested this Padfolio. It's a premium leather good, and it's available in 3 different colors. From left to right, we have charcoal, then coffee, then saddle. So in order to learn more about Allegory's Padfolio and to get a closer look at it, let's go over here to camera 2. Okay, here is the Allegory Padfolio. Since this is a little larger, my camera setup is slightly different here. You can see that I purchased the saddle, and this is built to hold an A4 pad, similar to that of the Rhodia number 18 staple-bound pad, which happens to be my pad of choice, so that worked out well. The leather is soft but firm, and overall the Padfolio feels very sturdy. Now, typically when I purchase something, I want to keep it as pristine and perfect for as long as possible, but you're always trying to avoid that first ding or scratch in something, and then after it happens, it's never quite the same. The same can't be said for this Padfolio. As the material has aged, it's been scratched a lot, and that it's shown some wear, and for this product, I feel it just adds to the character. It has a lot of wear, but it's just all surface wear. So it's basically just like all wear and no tear, if you will. You might have noticed this engraving. For an additional fee, I believe it's $10. They'll engrave your Padfolio, and you can see here up close that there is a lot of wear in that particular area. I think that's because that's where it goes in and out of my bag that I use on a daily basis. But that's just what leather will look like over time when it's being handled and used a lot. There is a flap here which has 2 snaps, and then on the outside of the flap you can see here that there is slots for 2 pens and a zippered pocket. If you'd like, there's an option where you could actually have these pen slots on the inside of the flap rather than the outside. And for reasons I'll explain later, I really don't find myself using these pen slots, and I wonder when they're on the inside of the flap if then they become a little awkward to actually snap the flap closed, especially if you're pocketing thicker pens. As a special request, which is at no additional cost, you could also request that this zippered pouch be put on the inside of the pad as well. Most of Allegory's products are made to order, so little modifications like that are typically not an issue. Now, this opens up. I know we can't see all of it on camera, but there are 2 main sections of the Padfolio that they both have what's called a Kydex thermoplastic sheet as a stiffener. Kydex is the brand name of the material that is strong and light and somewhat flexible. Kydex is used a lot in things like knife sheaths and gun holsters, and it works well in this regard as well. On this side, there are a couple of slots which are perfect for some business cards, Then there is a larger sized zipper pouch, which is large enough to hold a full-size cell phone. And then there's a slot here that isn't elastic, but it is rather flexible. And then there's a larger slot here that, now you wouldn't think it could fit a tablet in here, but it will fit like a regular iPad, not the huge ones, but the smaller iPads. And it's not even like you're cramming it in there. So there's not a ton of wiggle room, but it's pretty secure. Then there's the transition here between the sections. This is the softer, like suede side of the leather, and I like this piece here for a reason that I'll get to show here in just a bit. And this is the main section where you're going to insert your pad. You could insert a pad a couple of different ways, but this is how I do it. This is a Rhodia an A4 pad, and so what I do here is I actually fold this over the top. I actually fold this like this, and I fold this like this, make all the folds, and then I fold it over like this. And then what I end up doing is I end up putting both the back flap as well as the cardboard backing, I end up sliding that in here, and it slides in there really nice. Now that it ends up looking like this. I'm not sliding it in here just because it's going to look a little awkward, but you get the idea. It slides in there perfectly fine. Now, I'm not certain if it was designed to be used this way or if it's just a happy accident, but what I end up typically doing is taking the excess paper, because I usually have this pad and I have a piece of paper for each day, is I end up folding it over like this, and then I end up folding the flap underneath like this, and then I end up folding this over and actually snapping it closed. And so I know it's not necessarily in there right now, but that's kind of the state that I end up using this paper in on a daily basis, and the status of how I carry it around. I typically don't open and close it, and that's why I feel for me it doesn't really work having pens stored in here, because then when you snapped it closed, it would be uneven, and that. I don't typically open and close it, and as I mentioned previously, I really like this soft inner lining here, because that's typically kind of how I carry it around, and that this is kind of what I feel on my hand. And even though I've handled this quite a bit, it really doesn't show any discoloring or wear. Maybe I just do a good job of keeping my hands clean, but I like the fact that this hasn't really gotten dirty, even though my hands are on it all the time. Now, these little strings that you see here, like right here, these are part of normal wear and tear. These can be pulled and trimmed to clean it up. I've actually been wanting to do so for a while, but I needed to tape this review first so you could see what normal wear and tear looks like. These black strings are the edges of the lining fabric. There's plenty of allowance to ensure it's completely caught up in the seam that binds the flap together. Sometimes as you use this, little bits of fabric get pulled out by other stuff in your bag and things like that. You can trim it out, it won't cause any issue. I've been told that the same goes for any threads, which might wear over time. I've given this a lot of wear and tear, and I've yet to experience any seam wear. They seem to be pretty sturdy. This zipper does have a bit of wear and tear on it, but considering how I use it, that's to be expected. Like I have this sitting like this all the time, and so the zipper is always making contact with the surface. I really enjoyed the Padfolio. As I mentioned, I carry it around with me all day at work. It's really become part of me. It's gotten a ton of use, and I will say it is a bit hefty. It did take a while to get used to the extra weight as opposed to just carrying around the pad like I did before. But I do like the feel of the leather when I'm toting it around. I will say that I don't get a lot of use out of most of the features of this pad. I do keep some business cards in here, but I really don't use either of these pockets as well. And on the flap, I really don't use these either. And that's fine. I think it's a testament to the quality of the product that I don't get use out of many of the features, but I still love this thing. That everyone will have different needs. Maybe you'll have a different need for this product. The price for the Allegory Padfolio is $145. As I mentioned earlier, this is a premium leather handmade piece, so that will come at a price. But for something that I literally use every single day, I feel that the price for me has been justified. It's well crafted and is held together remarkably well with just about a year of heavy use. It's something that I would recommend. You could purchase these Padfolios directly from Allegory. I'll put a link in the notes below to their site. I hope you enjoyed taking a look at something a little different. Until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.